In today's video, we're going to be going over how golfing star Cameron Smith actually failed to deny LIV Golf Rumours at a press event. The LIV Golf tournament has permanently altered the golfing landscape. Players who decided to switch to LIV and take advantage of the better, more lucrative chances haven't gotten away with their choice without suffering serious consequences from the PGA, and the tour's CEO in particular. But that isn't stopping Smith. First off, things haven't been shaping up too well. Let's paint a picture of how bad players who chose to play for LIV have had it so far. Members who participated in the very first Grand Saudi-funded LIV Golf Invitational Series event were indefinitely barred from 3 tournaments and fined an insane $177,000 each by the DP World Tour on recently leading up to the weekend. Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, and even the likes of Ian Poulter all participated in the event, held just outside of London earlier this month, even though they had not been given permission to do so by the tour initially, which, by the way, was formerly known as the European Tour. Minutes after the first tournament finally began, the US PGA Tour issued a ban to its players, while the DP World Tour took longer to take a stance on the matter. Many fans and officials of the sport have speculated that they would take a calmer approach than the PGA. However, claiming a violation of the rules, the tour has now imposed sanctions, including bans from the upcoming Scottish Open, the Barbasol Championship, and even the Barracuda Championship, all of whom are standing by Monahan's stance and co-sanctioning players alongside the PGA Tour. These sanctions also include massive 6-figure fines, which sound like a lot, sure, but LIV's lucrative financial packages for players are definitely going to be cushioning this fall in a big way. The DP World Tour also warned that participation in any further LIV Golf events, the next of which begins in Portland, Oregon the following week, could result in even more sanctions for players beyond this. From a glance, we're sure how many players are even going to comply, and if you ask us, this could even result in some really messy court proceedings as well, but you'll just have to stay tuned as we continue to cover how this story develops. Next, none of this seems to be holding Smith back. After painting this picture, you'd expect players to steer clear of joining the tournament if they haven't already. Well, all this didn't stop Cameron Smith. Moments after winning the Open Championship, Cameron Smith's name was sensationally associated with the Saudi-backed tour. The most interesting part of this exactly? Smith didn't even dispute these claims. Furthermore, rumors that the Australian sensation will be joining the Rebel Tour in the coming days are gaining traction in the wake of his first major victory. According to news sources such as the Irish golfer, Smith will soon be revealed as the face of a slew of new hires, including fellow Australian Mark Leishman, 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson, Tommy Fleetwood, and even Henrik Stenson. Prior to being questioned about the rumors by a local reporter during his post-play press conference at St. Andrews last week, Smith was beaming after winning the Claret Jug. According to the reporter, Smith's name had been mentioned as a player who might be persuaded to join the Rebel Tour, which is led by his very own countryman, Greg Norman. Smith originally made an effort to dodge the inquiry by yelling that he's shocked by how reporters are asking about that after he just won the British Open. That, in his opinion, is really poor behavior on their part. Coming up next, how much does LIV factor into this exactly? When questioned further, Smith didn't dispute that his group is currently in contact with LIV Golf, saying he has no idea. Smith claimed that his group is concerned about all of it and taking care of any such matter, and as an athlete, he's only here to compete in golf competitions. According to sources such as The Telegraph, Norman supposedly wants to put together an all-Australian LIV Golf squad that would be captained by both Smith and Adam Scott. During the press conference, there were no more inquiries regarding LIV Golf, and Smith will now have the opportunity to enjoy the success of a remarkable comeback victory at St. Andrews, but eventually, it will be necessary to make his stance on LIV Golf known. The highest-ranked recruit on the tour would be Smith, who would overtake world number 18 Dustin Johnson if he decided to sign. However, as things stand, he wouldn't gain points for the world rankings in LIV Golf competitions, and his chances of competing in the majors starting as soon as next year would be in doubt. Now in other news, first Jack Nicklaus weighs in on LIV. Given that he was allegedly offered millions of dollars to support the Saudi Arabia-backed series, he may have good reason to be apprehensive of the Rebel LIV series. Instead, Greg Norman is the focal point of everything LIV, which is why the R&A chose not to invite the Australian to this week's previous champion events. To be quite honest with you, I don't know anything about it, Nicklaus said in reference to the dispute between Norman and the R&A. The golfing star claimed to have very little knowledge of what transpired. In fact, Nicklaus said he was fully aware that they chose not to invite Norman, but he had no further information to give out at this time. Nicklaus provided just a little more information when he was asked if Norman's reputation had suffered as a result of his LIV affiliation and endorsement. The 18-time major champion said that he would like to just sum up this situation with a couple of sentences. Nicklaus stated that Greg Norman is a legend in the sport of golf to start. He is also undoubtedly a superb athlete as well. The two have known one another for a very long time, and no matter what, they'll always be buddies according to the star. Unfortunately, he believes that Norman and him simply don't agree on what is happening, and that there's nothing more to say beyond that. Just to make sure the press doesn't pester him further, he decided to stop right there, and clearly communicated how he felt when he told the press not to ask him about this ever again. Coming up, 9/11 and how how it factors into LIV with controversy. LIV Golf's first ever U.S. event was scheduled to start fairly recently, but a group of 9/11 victims, families, and survivors plan to protest the Saudi Arabia-funded tour by gathering in a nearby park on that day. When the World Trade Center collapsed, Brett Eagleson, who was 15 years old at the time, lost his father. On that day in 2001, about 3,000 people met a tragic end. According to Eagleson, "We want the golfers to know who they're sleeping with and doing business with." He went on further to say that any golfer who decides to participate in the LIV competition should be required to pay attention to the family members, look them in the eye, and justify their participation in the tournament to them. Additionally, he said he wants to be able to inform the golfers about the Saudi role in 9/11. Eagleson, who is 36 years old, is one of those condemning the LIV event for being associated with a government that has violated human rights on countless occasions. Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda and the attack's planner, was born in the Saudi monarchy, and all but 4 of the 19 hijackers on September 11 were Saudi nationals. While this may be jumping to conclusions and taking a slightly controversial stance, Eagleson is standing by his views. About 20 miles west of Portland's downtown, at Pumpkin Ridge Golf Club, the LIV Golf Invitational gets underway very soon. The mayor of North Plains and representatives from neighboring communities, however, objected to the event long before it arrived in the small town, writing to the club's Texas-based owner to express their displeasure and claim that it went against local values. Lastly, Monahan isn't backing down with repercussions for players who betrayed the PGA. Recently, the PGA Tour's Commissioner Jay Monahan defended his choice to exclude players from competing in the Saudi-backed LIV Golf Series, which has been the subject of much controversy. He went on to say that dissident players shouldn't expect a free ride off of devoted competitors who are loyal to the PGA as an organization. Of course, this is a pretty weak take by Monahan, who's obviously in hot water considering the incredibly lucrative packages the players are getting from LIV, which they never did from the PGA. Monahan said the bans were required to safeguard the tour's interests, which take precedence above all else. He said this in his first public remarks following the announcement of punishments against 17 current or past PGA Tour players for their participation in LIV Golf. Just the ban alone has projected a negative image of the PGA, as many commentators of the sport are in agreement that the PGA should have clearly handled this better and protected the interests of the players. In a television interview with CBS on the sidelines of the Canadian Open, Monahan went on to further state that it's been an ugly week overall that was created because of some poor judgments by players who chose to seek greener pastures. Monahan claims that it's his responsibility to safeguard, uphold, and honor those loyal PGA Tour members, partners, and supporters who chose to stay with the organization, so he did just that. That's a wrap for this video. See you in the next one.